Yeah.
So, welcome to Don't Follow the Shepherd. I am excited to have my friend, who I also represent as a publicist, Doug Ferony. He is an entertainer with a background in film, and as a performing artist, he's also a musician. He's got tons of albums out, he's been in tons of movies. We're good friends, we've been to concerts together. He is an interesting guy. He's on the East Coast and he comes out to the Grammys, and I get to visit him here on the West Coast. Welcome, Doug, to Don't Follow the Shepherd.
Yes. Thank you, Jordan. Great to be here with you. Very
So,
good.
one of the things I love to talk to Doug about is uh, some of his movies of appearances. He's been in great mafia movies, but one of the movies that he's been in with Rodney Dangerfield, Back to School, is one of my all-time favorites. So tell us a little bit about how you got into Back to School and where it was filmed and the fun you had on that set.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for asking me about that. That was, I tell you, out of all the movies I did up to date, had to be one of my most favorite films to work on. And it was actually one of my first films too. We started filming it. The production started in 1985, and I was cast in it to be one of the college students. And we started working on it in the fall. And the filming took a couple of months to get it done, but it was terrific. We the scenes I'm in, we filmed in L.A., and I'm in different parts of the film. But one of the big scenes I'm in is the pool scene when he does the triple Lindy flip and hits the water, and he comes out of the water and he's cheering and the crowd's cheering, and then they zoom in on myself and Sally Kellerman, and we have a great scene together, and it's just so much fun. Rodney, you never knew what he was going to bring to the set every day. As far as he was always ready to work and everything, but in between takes and stuff, he couldn't help himself. He would come out with something funny. Well, I just remember one morning we were doing a limousine scene, and his driver was Burt Young, and Burt Young is from the Rocky movies, Paulie, and he did a lot of other mob films and things like that. Anyway, we're waiting, and Burt Young's not on the set, so Rodney's pacing back and forth, and he's kind of looking at his watch, and we're watching Rodney because he's the entertainment because no, there's no filming yet, but and he turns around and looks at the director, and he says, "Will you please tell Burt to get up here while we're still all young?" And I mean, he couldn't help but double over laughing. It was so funny. Everybody got such a kick out of that particular moment. But it was a great back to school was really terrific.
And
Yeah.
you told me a story about it, about Rodney. Maybe you can't repeat it here, so we can drop it. But it was a funny story about him being on the telephone talking to somebody. But we don't have to.
Oh well, I don't think it's kind
Oh,
of
go ahead.
harmless.
Go ahead.
Yeah, it's not. But thanks for bringing that up. So anyway, I back to school. I worked on it 30 working days. So actually, almost a whole month. Of course, there were working days. Weekends were usually off. But anyway, at time when we would leave, we'd have to get in line and turn in our vouchers and check out for the day. So one day they had a table set up, and we were all of us actors were getting ready to leave to sign out, and there was a phone booth before cell phones. There was a phone booth near the sign out table, and we're all standing there, a couple people chatting, whatever. But you could hear this big voice, Doc, you got to help me, Doc, I need the pills now. You got to help me, Doc. You got to help me, Doc. I need the pills. You got to get me the pills. He goes, I have to stay calm. I need the pills to stay calm. Anyway, that was about the extent of what I heard. But apparently, I don't know. Rodney must have been on some medication or something for whatever reason. Maybe to stay calm. I don't know.
Well,
But
you know that I
but
talk about my tribe as being a little neurotic, so
yeah, yeah, yeah. So
possible.
anyway, so that yeah, that was funny that day. Yeah, yeah,
Um, so one of the things that's really interesting about Doug is that he has to be a businessman. Yes, he's recording albums, he's on stage, but he's got to assemble um, a band, a large piece, many people in the orchestra, etc. He's got to create arrangements for some of the big amphitheater shows that he does. So he's a businessman as much as an entertainer. Yes, he was acting in these films, and we can talk about some of the mafia films as well, and the TV shows like The Sopranos. But tell us a little bit about your transition into, the entertainment business, not just as a musician and entertainer on stage and in the recording studio, but also putting this together as a business, as a livelihood.
yeah, yeah. So I guess I guess the start from the beginning a little bit is probably the best for me to explain a little bit is anyway, like I was saying earlier, when I worked on Back to School, that was one of the first movies I worked on, and it was in the mid 80s. And I went out to LA and I started studying voice and of course taking some acting lessons and making the rounds in Hollywood and getting with different casting agencies and things like that. So while I was doing that, I kind of always had a hankering for, I guess for business. Not that I'm a killer kind of business guy, but at least, the components of business always interested me. And I learned from that period and going forward a few years later that to book my show, I had to sharpen my skills with with learning how to do that, how to do producing, because I produce a lot of my own shows. Excuse me. I also produce my own albums, which you mentioned earlier. I do have quite a few albums now, and we're actually working on a new one now too. But anyway, as far as the business side, I guess the only way to do it is just really just to get started and do it. Speaking for myself, anyway, and I did, and I made friends with a lot of several entertainers that produce their own things and shows, and I kind of learned from them too, how to do it. You know, it's like any kind of business. Some shows you might do well on, you might make a profit, and then other shows for whatever reasons, being here in New York, if you have an outdoor concert, it might rain, so it's going to deter people from coming. Uh, and it depends on the size of the venue. And if you're going to produce your own show, you got to look at all the costs of what it's going to cost to produce your own show, which is, a good way to go. But you got to kind of take your package and you have to kind of fit it into the theater or find a theater that your package will fit into. So you have a better chance of making a profit because, like any good business, if you make a profit, you're successful, you can continue to do it. So you don't want to do too many shows where you don't make profit, and then you get behind the eight ball, and then that's a problem. So anyway, if that kind of answers what your question was, I guess hands on, I started learning how to do it, and I started learning from people that were already producing shows.
Yeah, I mean, I think what's interesting is that, and I've sat with Doug in the audience when we've listened to some of his peers um, perform, and it's very interesting to have his perspective where he really knows the audience. He sees when a performer builds a rapport with people in the crowd and is thinking about selling out audiences and the venue, the size, the logistics of getting everything on stage. I mean, all the things that go into it. It's a lot of executive functioning, quite frankly. Whereas many performers today will show up. They don't really have a business sense. They rely on this or that. And I think part of, and I don't want to speak for you, the fun of running your own show, if you will, is that you get to be the total creator and producer. And so you have a real sense for what your brand is. Doug knows his brand. Yes, he covers some artists that are known entities in modern American history, some of the classic favorites. He has his own songs as a songwriter, but he knows his brand. He knows the brands of others. He knows what venues work for him. So it's a real interesting way to approach the entertainment industry. And then also being on film and on television, or being in the movies and on television, he also really has a holistic perspective on this entertainment ecosystem that not a lot of performers or even recording artists have. So it's a real interesting when we call Doug an entertainer, he is a true entertainer. Going back to some of the mafia films, I mean, again, that's a niche in its own right.
Yeah.
Doug's songs have appeared. Doug's songs have been uh, listed on the soundtracks of various films, and not necessarily all mafia films, but he really maybe talk a little bit about that before we go into like The Sopranos and some of the other projects.
Yeah. So I've had one of the songs I wrote. Uh, it's been a while now, probably about 25 years ago. But the song that I wrote, we produced it very well because it stood the test of time. I'd like to say that. Uh, when it was in a movie, it's called "I'm in Love with a Girl." It was in a movie called Mr. Vincent, and it was actually John John Cassavetes' film, and he wrote the story. Um, Offhand, I don't remember the director. I wasn't in the movie; just my music was, and my song and my singing version of my song was in it. Anyway, it was called Mr. Vincent, and it was done in black and white. It was a black and white film, so it wasn't a big movie, but it was a pretty good film that it did well at Sundance Film Festival. It got recognized there. It won an award in Italy. Again, I don't remember the name of the award show in Italy, but it was a pretty big film award, and it also won another award here in Long Island. So the film was very popular in, if I can borrow that word, niche that it was in. Uh, it did very well. So that was a nice credit to have my song in there. My song "I'm in Love with the Girl's" been on in and involved with several commercials. And then also a couple of years ago, we were picked up for After Party. The song was picked up for the Apple TV's After Party, and it was played several times in a few episodes of Apple TV's After Party. So that song did very well. "I'm in Love with the Girl." It's on Spotify. You can hear it. And it also has we also have a possibility it's going to be on a National Geographic show. Actually, it wasn't sorry, it wasn't a National Geographic show, but it's going to be on I can't think of it right now, but a very big show. Anyway, National Geographic. It's been in National Geographic on some episodes too. And then my other song, well, I have several songs that I wrote that did very well. The Christmas song that I wrote called "It's Christmas" has also been in a lot of commercials, and it's been in a couple of short films. And all I'm lucky. I can say that, like I said, we always try to produce good products, and the songs have gotten a lot of really good reviews. So I'm really happy about that.
Yeah, just on that topic a bit, the digital marketing. If you Google Doug Ferony, this I'm not plugging myself here because I contributed a
It's
little
okay. Go ahead.
marketing. But he's got a great website, but the website's important, right? If you open up his website, he's got video footage of him on stage. When you Google Doug, you see films that he's been in, displayed prominently in his Google Knowledge panel. Didn't intend to get into this, but we opened
Yeah.
the door. But Spotify, all his albums, like as an entertainer, he's not only, really have to optimize his presence in a very conventional and traditional way, but online, he has to kind of continue to curate his presence, and there's not a lot of work because his stuff gets picked up by the algorithm. They know it's Doug Ferony, and I'm not going to get into the technical component, but there's an element of the
Mhm.
online presence that is important. Um, but the other thing is we talked about niche. Now, the interesting thing is Doug's been in, I have it on actually in the background there, The Irishman, Goodfellas, The Sopranos. But, that's just one element of his brand. Now, yes, he covers songs from like Dean Martin and Sinatra. Maybe talk about that a little bit. It's really kind of coincidental. It's not necessarily that that was a brand that you went out of your way to develop, but it makes you interesting as an entertainer, right?
Yeah, yeah, thanks for that. That's a good thing to talk about. I guess again, it all started for me when I was a kid. I used to hear 7, 8 years old. I would hear all these great recordings. Back in the 19 late 60s and stuff of what was happening with Frank Sinatra style music and Dean Martin. Of course, there was a lot of rock and roll that was going on and all of that. But my folks, being Italian like I am, obviously, yeah, they would listen to a lot of the Italian singers around the house. And anyway, I was kind of starstruck by, let's say, Frank Sinatra's voice when I first heard it. I was just getting back to the producing thing, and the quality of his voice and everything was just on point, and I was always amazed at that. From a little kid, I was amazed at that. Um, but anyway, so I got to a little bit understand that style of music, and I kind of studied it and the American Songbook, like Bobby Darin style and like that. And as time went on, of course, I took voice lessons and I tried to, get better and better at my craft. And I never considered myself, a copycat or a person that would be, I'm not going to, try to be somebody that exactly sounds like another singer. I don't want to do that. I have my own voice and that's what I developed. So anyway, with that being said, I kind of got a great understanding for the American Songbook. Have many, many, many musical arrangements for my show. We switch them up now and then, and we've done a lot of recordings of American Songbook. And then I dabble into love songs as much as I can, which might be considered an American Songbook as well. But a lot of the great standards and classics, I try to pick the ones that I think would work well for me, and do those songs. And then also, we mess around with some rhythm and blues, and also some big band rock and roll. And to coin that phrase, if you remember well, he's still around, obviously playing. I think he is if you ever heard of the Jerry Setzer Big Band, Stray Cats, I think they were. Anyway, they did big band, but it was kind of rock and roll big band. It was pretty cool. So we don't really try to copy him either. But I think I learned in all the years of being in the business, you take an idea from here, an idea from there, an idea from there, and then you mix it up, and you might come out with your own stuff, So it kind of helps. And there's a lot of other singers that I listen to too that I really enjoy. Obviously, Mario Lanza was fabulous, Italian opera singer. He was great. I always enjoy his movies and listening to him. His beautiful voice. And also Engelbert Humperdinck. I love listening to him. He's terrific. Tom Jones, Paul Anka. I like all of these singers because they put on a great show and they also sing the songs that I really love. There's a lot of love songs, And then of course they have fun on stage with the different styles of music too. So that's kind of how I got involved with what I'm doing now with my show. And we do like a variety. We kind of stay in the I kind of stay in the because I have a lot of big band arrangements, and I like to work with my big band, which can be, start at 12 piece and then I go up to a full orchestra with string section and percussion. So we put on depending on the venues, we can put on a very large show, or I can put on like a nice medium sized show. So that's just something that I developed over time, and it took a lot of time, and I had to get an understanding for what I was doing, and I did. I feel I'm pretty, you know, accomplished to a point where I can put together a good show. Last year, we had several big shows last year. We did a show for the Mazzella Institute in Denver, Colorado, and it was a terrific show at the in the ballroom, and they raise money for anti-terrorism. They're a wonderful group, very big group, and they every year they have a big benefit and concert, and they employed me to come out and do it, and with my had my band from Denver join me, and we we put on a great show. And I was just at their website today too, and I saw a bunch of pictures from our show last year. It was really great that they had it up there. Anyway, and then we played many casinos over the years. Last year we played three casinos, and that's another market for us too, because I kind of have that type of show that would fit well in a casino. So that's just some of the venues that we play, and a little bit about I guess my music book and my show.
Yeah, it strikes me because we always talk about you as being an entertainer, and it is so interesting. Because I've talked to Doug a lot about, I'm a big fan of Engelbert Humperdinck. Um, but with Paul Anka and Dean Martin, Sinatra, before the age of, MTV, there was some music video. There's something so pure and um, enriching about watching the nuanced behavior of some of these great artists and yourself, with your own style and talking about it, and going with you to watch other of your peers perform. There's something so interesting because even today, and you can maybe talk about this, because you go to the Grammys pretty regularly, you know, shows are now so fancy that sometimes you lose the opportunity to just see the performer on stage being him. Like, for those of you who haven't been to an Engelbert Humperdinck show or a Doug Ferony show, like, there's a
Yeah.
lot of entertainment going on that has nothing to do with fancy technology, laser lights, and
Yeah,
all
that
this.
that that's a great point, Jordan. That's a terrific point. Um, I can only at the moment think of an interview I saw. Remember the drummer Buddy Rich?
Hmm.
And he was being interviewed. I don't remember what show. It might have been Larry King, one of those shows. And he talked about his show, what he does, and he said he doesn't go in for fireworks. He doesn't go in for fancy lighting. He doesn't go in for laser. He said it's really about the developed talent that you have, and the other say the other musicians that are on stage with you, to really sit there and watch their talent is something to be said. And he kind of felt this was years ago too, because he's been gone for quite a while now. But he said he never he can't see going in for all the other stuff, because it becomes, I'm not knocking it. There's something to be said for pyrotechnics and other types of shows and all of that. But he did make a good point that you're really going to see all the special effects, like you were saying, and you kind of lose the talent, or the hard work that the musician or the singer and the musicians put in during their life. And it's really great. So it can be very distracting with a big show like that. You kind of lose the point of why you're going to the show, to see the artists, or the artists. depending on that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm not knocking it either, but like you watch a Super Bowl performance, I know someone who is very involved in
That's
people.
a great point. That's a great point.
Like you watch a Super Bowl performance and you don't even know
That's usually I usually go to the bar when that comes on, and
there may be there may be your favorite celebrity or your star or whatever, but you can't see them because they're in a costume and you don't recognize them and all that other
right,
stuff.
right, right,
So
right.
the nuance, like watching you watch other performers is also interesting because you pick up on not only the chemistry of the
Hmm.
band members, the
Hmm.
the camaraderie, how they engage and interact, and the witty banter that you hear. Like
Yes,
I'll just use Engelbert again as an example. Like
of course.
he says like he knows the audience is going to respond in such a way, and like he plays to the audience in certain ways. You do similar things. You just know this, and that's what being an entertainer is about. It's a bit of a
Sure.
lost art because so many of the technical stuff we just talked about. But
Well, one of the big things I learned, and it took a while, but when I finally learned it and realized it, you really, no matter how good you sing, maybe maybe a great opera singer might just have that kind of magic, but you really, speaking for myself now, you really have to engage the audience. You have to engage, you have to get the audience's attention, and it just has to be a natural way of engaging with them. And if you can do that comfortably and get the audience to be with you, you got them. And that's what you have to do, you know. A lot of I don't know if I I'm just we're just talking, so I'm not picking on anything or any other type of shows or anything. I really don't like to do that. Because maybe people have their own ways of doing things. But you know, I guess the point is, I said it earlier, too many special effects, it becomes distracting, and you lose, like you were saying, you don't even know who the artist is behind the mask, or in the costume if it's overdone. So it's I'm kind of more like old school that way. And you come in to see me and my band, we're going to put on a show for you. That's it. Of course, it's nice to have nice lights and stuff going. I'm not knocking that either. But I think the big thing for entertainers, like I became friends with Bobby Rydell and um, a lot of different entertainers over the years that I got to know, and they engage the audience, and I watch them. They get the audience's attention, and they interact with the audience. Um, Bobby Vinton was a good entertainer that way. He would actually go out into the audience and shake people's hands during the show, and he would really, get people involved. Paul Anka does the same thing. I don't know if he still does it now because he's a bit older now, but for many years he would get right into the audience. Matter of fact, about 25 years ago, I saw him in Atlantic City at one of the Atlantic City showrooms. I went to his show, and Paul Anka, I don't know, he's not really tall. He's like, I don't know, I'm gonna guess and say 5'6" or something, 5'7". I don't know. I don't know how tall he is, but he's not the biggest guy in the room. He would get up on table. He would get on tables, and he would sing to everybody on the table. I don't know if he had it prearranged or not, but the show I saw him in Atlantic City, he did that. He got on two or three different tables around the room so everybody could see him. He went down in the audience and did that. Then he went back up on stage and you could see him. But I thought that was kind of cool too, because it gets people's attention besides what you're doing with the music. But anyway, that's just another way of engaging.
yeah, and not to belabor the point, but like even Elvis, I'll watch old video footage of Elvis and just there's certain
Hmm.
slight behaviors that you couldn't see if there are all these pyrotechnics and all this too big of a show. You miss the opportunity to watch the expression on the face of the performer, so it's really interesting. I'll ask you again if we should give it away, but Doug and I have a favorite venue that we go to regularly
Oh yeah.
in LA when he's here for the Grammys, and people recognize him. Uh, Outside the restaurant, I remember someone recognized him from some of the films and perhaps from concerts, from his concerts.
Mhm.
I don't remember which at the time, but we go to a certain venue that has a real strong uh, uh, it fits the genre. It's a, what would you call it? The ambiance is really
Yeah,
it,
yeah, that's great. And I'm going to mention the name. It's
okay.
Frankie's. Frankie's in L.A. I
On
believe it's
Melrose.
yeah, on Melrose, correct. Uh, One of my favorite places to go to in L.A., especially being that it's Italian, and Frankie was originally, if I got this right, I think he was originally from Brooklyn, uh, or one of the boroughs. I think it was Brooklyn. Anyway, years ago, I think also back in the 80s, he went out and started the restaurant Frankie's. And it's kind of like you were saying, it's got an ambiance about it. It's kind of like a little bit of a theme of the Rat Pack and uh and kind of like a little bit of old Hollywood too, that type of style. Food is fantastic. So if any of your listeners today are looking for a great Italian restaurant in LA, Frankie's is terrific. Every time we go there, it's wonderful. And on certain nights you'll catch Frankie there. He's a terrific guy. Anyway, good stuff. And he has a wonderful wait staff that work with him too.
Yeah, it's a family run business, and
Yes.
we really enjoy it. I mean, it's in West Hollywood, but it takes you back to, like you said, a New York borough
Yeah.
decades
Yeah.
ago. It's really fitting to be there. So yeah, we were going to talk just a little bit about some of the films. I mean, not only has Doug been in a lot of the mafia films, which um, are iconic in their own right, but he's been in other blockbusters. And so the thing with Doug is he has such an eclectic brand because he's got tons of albums out, which are not just focused on one genre. He covers artists, but as a songwriter, he's got um, a whole body of work. But what's so interesting about Doug as an entertainer is that he's just covered it all. And so in this day and age, it's rare to find someone like that. So it's fun to hear him talk about other entertainers, from Tom Jones to Engelbert. Um,
Yeah.
you know, um, what do you find about it's funny moving from film and TV where you're under the kind of auspices of or the mercy of the directors and
Right.
all the people on set or on location, and
Hmm.
doing your own thing where you're running a business. I mean, I think it speaks to your personality too, right? Is that you love to be able to be the creator and the producer. And while the appearances on film and television are great, and music has given you more opportunity to be a creative artist.
Yeah. I love being creative in both fields, acting and singing, music producing. Um, I think I kind of like, well, not kind of like I like to perform. I like to sing and do my show. That's probably my number one that I love to do because that's really what brings great happiness and joy for me. But getting back to the acting stuff, if and when I did get a part or do get a part. Uh, I got to take guidance from the director and get a sense of what needs to be done and take some from the direction from the director, which which is good because you know, I I kind of feel it's their project, so I just need to do what they want me to do, or just do what I'm supposed to do, and that's something that I kind of felt I was able to do in a good way. Like the movie Goodfellas, when I worked on that, um, I was a waiter, and I guess I had a certain look back in the day back then, and the first director or assistant director, first assistant director came through. We were in a holding area, and he pointed to me and somebody else. He said, "Come with me," and so I came with him, and met Martin Scorsese, and he said, "We got a scene we want you to do. We want you to carry this bar table in and bring it down and bring it in front of the stage, and you're going to set up Ray Liotta, with champagne and all that stuff." And I said, "Okay." So great. I said, "Thank you. Wonderful." So we start rehearsing it, and I pick up this table, and it's a round bar table. And just to give you an idea, it had a heavy bottom because the scenes were being filmed in the actual Copacabana. I don't know that the Copacabana was still operating when we filmed Goodfellas. I don't know if it was still publicly open, but it was still there, and it was still a venue, and it's still a space. So the table was somewhat heavy because you don't want to knock the table over, waiters bumping into it and everything. So so I picked the table up, and it was heavy. It was manageable, but again, I'm guessing, but I would say it was probably about 30 pounds maybe, because it had a heavy base on it, and plus the table weight and everything. So I pick it up, no problem. So I go down, and we do the rehearsal. So I carry it back because they didn't have anybody to carry the table back. So I had to walk again, probably about 40 feet with the table to bring it down. Then they stopped the rehearsal. I got to pick the table up and bring it back. So we did that maybe 3 or 4 times. We got the action down pretty good. So what happens is Ray Liotta starts outside with Lorraine Bracco on the street, and she goes, "Where are you taking me?" And he goes, "We're going through the kitchen." It's that scene, and it's the at that period of time when we filmed it. The movie came out in 1990, I think, but when we filmed it in 1989, so it took a while before it was released. Anyway, in 1989, that particular scene was the longest video shot done unbroken. So that was a pretty big thing. That was the longest video shot unbroken. So it started outside in the street, and with Ray Liotta and Lorraine Bracco, the camera follows them, and then they go into the Copa, they go downstairs, and he's saying hello to everybody, and they're still following him with the camera, and they're following him. And then he goes up into the ballroom, and then he sees the maitre d', and the maitre d' goes, "Anthony, table for Mr. Hill." So I'm Anthony. So that's my action. I carry the table in. The camera follows me down in front of the stage. I'm underneath the table. I get out, and then there you see me there, and then I turn, and Ray Liotta gives me a 20, and I thank him, and then I go back and I get champagne, and I bring it over to the table, and I'm showing him the bottle, and looking at him. He's, "Yeah, it's good. We'll take it, great." So I'm back and forth a couple times in the scene too. So that was great. So we shot that same scene 14 times. 14 because Martin Scorsese, he's big on retakes. He likes to do extra takes and everything. So I'm carrying this table down 28 times because 14 times down, 14 times back. So but by one of the last takes, I'm pretty dog tired, I mean, I'm feeling it, because it's a lot, besides that, you don't want to trip, you don't want to bump into anybody with the table because they're filming, so you got to be really careful. So fast forward to 2017, I get a call to work on The Irishman, Martin Scorsese film. Uh, and it was about Jimmy Hoffa, the film. Anyway, The Irishman. A lot of people have seen it. It was featured on Netflix. It was a Netflix film, and it was a pretty big film. So I had a bit part. I was one of the gangsters in one of the Genovese crime family, but I was in this Latin casino scenes where all the Teamsters, and I don't want to keep saying gangsters and mafia and all that, but a lot of the who to be were there, so so those are my scenes in The Irishman. So we taking a break. It was like a 5-day shoot. It's here. It was here. We filmed it in New York City at a club, or actually as a dance hall. They turned it into the Latin Casino, which was a big club in Cherry Hill, New Jersey years ago. And it was this meeting place back where, Teamsters and everything used to go to it. So sat down after one of the breaks while we're on the set. We were taking a break, and I'm sitting next to the first assistant director. I don't know him, but he wasn't doing much. So I said to him, I've worked with Martin Scorsese before in the movie Goodfellas. He said, "Oh, really?" And so I told him my name, Doug Ferony, and he goes, "What'd you do?" And I said, "I'm the table guy. I carry the table in the scene with Ray Liotta. I set him up. I bring him champagne." He goes, "You're kidding me!" And I said, "No, no, that's me." He goes, "That was the longest unbroken video shot back in the day, and we had to study that in film school." And I said, "Really?" He goes, "Yeah." I said, "Well, is it possible I can say hello to Marty?" Because he prefers to be called Marty, not maybe Scorsese, Mr. Scorsese in some instances, but Marty is what he likes to be called. I said, "Is it possible to say hello to Marty? I haven't worked with him since the Goodfellas." He goes, "Absolutely." He goes, "As soon as we get done with the shooting, these next couple scenes," he goes, "I'll let him know you're here," and he goes, "That would be great." So we shoot some more scenes, and we were told to take a break. I'm at a table with like 10 other actors and actresses because we're supposed to all be mob guys and with our girlfriends and whatever. And all of a sudden, you hear a bit of a ruckus, and I see this guy with a camera walking, and it gets closer and closer, and all of a sudden, in front of the camera is Marty Scorsese because, he's not that tall, but he was a little hard to see, and the AD, the assistant director, goes, "Doug, Marty's here. He wants to talk to you." So I said, "Oh, great!" So I jumped up, and everybody at my table was like shocked. They were like, "Holy cow, this guy really does know Martin Scorsese." So, so I go over, and all we did was talk about Goodfellas for like 5 minutes. And the film guy was filming us talking. I don't know what happened to the film. I'd love to
Yeah, we
get
need
it.
to find that. We need to
I
find.
Yeah, I would love to get it. Anyway, and so Marty goes to me. He goes, "So how many times did we do that?" I said, I'm not exactly sure the whole count, but I know I carried that table 14 times down and back." He started laughing. He goes, "Yeah." He goes, "But it's a great scene." I said, "It is a great scene. It's one of the best scenes ever shot." And especially in that time frame.
Right.
So it was really cool. It was a fun, it was really a great meeting to see him again and to be on the Irishman film. Yeah. So
So, what inspired? So, Doug's often in the recording studio. What inspired this last album? Tell us a little bit about it.
yeah, well, um, I'm working on a new album right now, but the album we just released is I don't know if the camera will pick this up, but it's All Right, Okay, You Win, and we do some covers from some of the great songs from the '70s, and anyway, this one it was in the Grammys. It didn't get nominated, but it was listed on the Grammys, and it was in the voting contention for the first round. So I was really happy about that. Then I did get picked up by another awards show, World Entertainment Awards, and we were nominated in two categories: Best Jazz Album and Best Jazz Vocalist. So that was in LA, and that was just a couple of months ago.
Right. I
I
saw
love
you.
I love LA. I used to live in California, so I love LA in the wintertime because it totally throws me off because the weather's so beautiful all the time out there. I've told you that time
I
and
know
time
how you
again.
feel about New York
Oh my
weather.
God, you come to New York, you walk in the wintertime if there's snow and ice, and then you get all the steam from the subways, coming up. And then you got to watch the sidewalks because most of them are cracked and shifted with the cement because of the cold weather. Anyway, um, yeah, so we had a great night. We didn't win in our categories, unfortunately, but we had a great night at the World Entertainment Awards. And then my daughter flew out. She usually flies out for the Grammy Awards because I'm a member of the Grammys. I've been a member
Send her my
for eight.
regards, by the way.
What's that?
Send her my regards, by the
I
way.
will. I will. She likewise. She said to say hi to you too. Um, and she's great. And my daughter comes with me to the Grammy Awards, and I have a lot of friends that are independent music producers and artists, and we have a great time. And it's a great weekend because not only do you go to the Grammys and see the Grammy Awards, but there's a lot of industry parties. There's several industry parties over the weekend, which are terrific. And it's a meet and greet. And you see people, you talk music, and it's a nice networking situation. So yeah, so I do go to the Grammys every year, and this year was a lot of fun. And hey, you never know. Sometimes my daughter can't make it. There's a ticket for you, Jordan. So you, you and
Thank
I
you.
can go. I can show you. I can show you a
I'll
little bit
probably
about
take you
what
up
goes
on it.
on in that circle.
I'll take you up on it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, thank you so much. This is fun. I'm sure we'll do it again because we always have stuff to talk about. Maybe we'll
Absolutely.
maybe we'll do a podcast from Frankie's one day.
Hey,
That
that would be great. I'd like that.
would be right. We should think
Yeah.
about that.
I think I'm going to be coming out again soon, so we'll stay in touch with that, and if it works out, that would be great. I think they would like it there too.
Yeah, that
So
would be fun.
yeah.
Yeah, so I think what next time I have you back on, and maybe we'll do it in person, we'll talk more about your album and this latest one, how that's
Hmm.
going, talk more about the musical career and get more in depth. So this was fun. Thank you so much for being a guest. DougFerony.com,
That's all
FEROIDOU.
right. Ferony.
Can you believe that I messed that up?
In Italian it's Filiolo. In Italian it's Filiolo. That's the name.
And I have to tell you about some new Italian friends. It's another story, but I'll tell you
Okay.
later. But thank you for being on the show, and I'll touch base with you soon.
Wonderful. Jordan, thank you very much for having me. It's always a pleasure to talk to you, and I love all the topics we talk about. It's wonderful. And you're doing a great job, and keep up the good work too.
Thank you, sir.
You got it.